What it do? What is happening? What happening, y'all? It's been a while. Let me make sure y'all can actually hear me. Let's see. Make sure y'all can actually see me, hear me. Um, there we go. That was interesting. Oh man, long time no see. Hope y'all doing good. Hope y'all feeling great. I'll tell y'all what happened. No, hey, are we good now? Mic check. My bad. Wire just came out of my mic. But like I said, I'll tell you. I'll tell y'all what happened. Wow. What was up with the absence? It's not like me to do that, but some things in life are just always gonna be out of our control, and this was one of them, honestly. But hey, you live with what you get, and you'll make it work, right? But anywho, as we all may have read the title, there's a lot of predictions going out there about the housing market in 20 housing market for 2026. A lot of predictions. There was at least one prediction in particular that stood out to me, and yeah, granted, they're all really saying the same stuff, but we're gonna really go over Redfins because I think there's and just what I've saw was most straight to the point, concise. They actually had graphs, data, visual for everybody to really follow along, especially if that's something that you want to do. So that's why we're gonna go ahead and dig a little bit deeper into Redfin and how they're gonna view the housing market in 2026. Because I'm not gonna tell you what may happen, but my personal opinion, 2026 may be, as the title says, the last time that it could be anybody gets a real shot, right? And when I say real shot, I'm talking about like the affordability levels, where pricing is, right? That is what I'm referring to. I'm not talking about y'all not gonna have a chance at all. You could buy a house eventually, right? Especially if you prepare for it. But if you don't prepare yourself for it, or like you're really you're running on eggshells right now, yeah, you really want to get yourself prepared now because I think 2027 is going to be even a bigger of a rebound. But we'll see. I mean, even the things that I believe can be false. I mean, just based off of what's been happening in itself, it seems as if a lot is changing on a daily basis. So it's like really hard to predict any of this stuff, which is why I really don't like making predictions. I just like telling you guys what I may think is gonna happen, but we'll see. All right, my predictions are set to change as they always will be, because again, a prediction is a prediction. But I think 2026 is really, especially for everyone who's renting right now that really wants to get into a home, that is, very first time purchasing a home. If you have a home already, you're pretty much, I think, you're good for the most part, because chances are you have some equity or you have something to leverage at that point in time. Maybe it'll be a tough time for you to sell in 2026, but it's not going to be, I would say, the end of the world. If anything, we're going into a buyer's market. So, of course, if you're going to sell, you're going to have a little bit more competition that you're going to have to go up against. And that may not be good for you. But as a buyer, yeah, this is the market that you really want to play in. I'm just forewarning you right now. So, by the end of this entire stream in itself, you'll know exactly what Redfin is predicting. And if you can look at other ones, right? I know Zillow made some just the other day. I looked at it. Realtor.com made some predictions. So they're all over. You just got to go ahead and read through them. But they pretty much, for the most part, going to all say the same thing. I know we're touching upon Redfins today, and then Realtor.com. We'll be really touching upon those two. You also hear why I think, and we'll go through it entirely. I'll show you visuals, all that good stuff. Ask questions if you have any about what's where is it that specific markets or what questions that you may have. That way we can go ahead and make sure we get those things answered. But you understand why I think there's like a real small window of great opportunity. Now, of course, you can find great opportunity in any market if you just really look for it. But I think this right here is going to be a one for the decades, especially after what happened in the past couple of years, where prices and just mortgage rates they did its own thing. But I'll also help you with establishing a plan. So if you really want to be like, all right, Ronnie, this is all theory, it's all prediction, that's great. But I'll literally lay out towards. We'll get to it eventually once we get through all this other stuff of exactly what you can do to make sure that you're positioned. Because it hurts me when I'm talking to someone. I really hate this one. So if you're in this position, your best bet is to just like truly indeed reach out. Like reach out as early as possible. The earlier you reach out, the better it is for you. And it's not for my sake. It's really better for you because then I can understand your scenario. I can understand where you're at. I can understand, what you're looking for. We could really pinpoint even specific areas that that's going to be more beneficial to you. But the earlier you reach out to anybody that's that letting them know that you're trying to purchase a home is your best bet. But this is what hurts me. It's when someone reaches out to me, all right, I'm ready to buy a home, and then all right, cool, let's get the process started. I start asking small pre-qualification questions, and I'm just like, this may not turn good. This just may not be what the person actually wants, and we'll still try. All right, I'll still bring out all my resources, all my tools, every person that I know to really help navigate it. But some things are literally out of my control. So that's why I say just reach out as early as possible. And if you want to reach out to me already, I mean, by all means, go. The link is in the description. You might see it next to referral. Fill that form out. It's a buyer intake form, and I'll be in touch with you. But let's really dive into this article here because that I think is the most important piece of today's stream in itself. There we go. And I'll zoom in because I doubt y'all can really see that. So yes, they're calling it the what right here, right? The Great Housing Reset, and they're only saying that just because now, and we'll touch upon it even more in the article in itself, but they're really saying the Great Reset just because incomes haven't really kept up with home prices. So they're calling that reset, right? They're not, and I mean, I don't think it says it right here immediately, but there it goes right here. So the Great Housing Reset will take shape in 2026. It won't be a quick price correction, and it won't be a recession, right? So we're not here saying recession this, recession that, crash this, crash that. Unfortunately, that's all that's going to be on the internet nowadays. So you truly indeed gotta have a mind of your own, or at least have somebody to really help you guide and understand what's going on, because you can be guided by the wrong piece of information and think, all right, a crash is nearby, just because someone wants to make some clickbait information or a clickbait title or video, whatever the case may be. But Redfin is stating it, right? It won't be a quick price correction and it won't be a recession. So this may actually take a lot longer. And of course, depending on where you're at. I know right now Florida is already getting hurt, which we'll talk about that a little bit later. But even certain parts in Florida are going to continue to get hurt in 2026. So we'll talk about that. But in the meantime, while I have you guys here, and really before we go dive into this one, let me know in the chat right now, where are you in the stage of, just your home purchase and just kind of where you're trying to be out. Number one, let me know. If you're number one, which is you're actively looking, let me know. If you're number two, let me know that if you're trying to buy in the next 6 to 8 months, put down number two or put it in chat number two. If you have no idea, you're just trying to figure this all out, put number three. All right, that way I can have a good understanding of where everybody's at, and we can maybe even tailor that conversation to make sure that we make sure that you're not a three, and if you're a three, we can make sure that you turn into a two, and if you're a two, we make sure you turn that into a one. You know what I mean? You flip it. But let's go back to this because I really want to touch upon some of the things that was mentioned here, which of course, as we just talked about, right? So it won't be a quick price correction. It won't be a recession. At least that's what they're predicting right now, right? So Instead, the Great Housing Reset will be a years long period of gradual increases in home sales, right? So, more competition, a normalization of prices as affordability gradually improves. Affordability is going to improve because if prices come down and then, of course, you make more money, then that's good, right? It's good for everybody. Mainly good for you, really, especially as a buyer. But it will start next year with incomes rising faster. See, I just jumped the gun there. Rising faster than home prices for a prolonged period for the first time since the Great Recession era. But this is the interesting part, right? It won't be enough to make home buying affordable in the short run for Gen Zers and young families, which is why I say, like, there's a truly indeed, there's a small window. Like, I mean, you're operating, if they're already stating, like, yo, this is not going to help Gen Z, and this is probably not going to help the people that are not getting ready at this current moment, then it's almost like there's not going to be a big change in that. And of course, you could think otherwise, but I mean, for Gen Zs. Well, Gen Z, I don't know how old Gen Z are. Let's see. What's the because if a first time home buyer at this current rate is about average 40 years old, then let's see where Gen Z is in terms of the years that they were born and if they're even ready to purchase a home. So 97 to 1997 to 2012. So if you're 97, you're about 28. You're about 28 years old. So you're on the cusp, I would say, of purchasing. And not to get me wrong, not to say that you can't at that current age, but the amount of time a Gen Zer has to prepare themselves is a lot different, right? Saving up money and getting themselves credit wise, getting all that stuff handled. So that's interesting that they're already making the statement that it's not going to be enough for Gen Z or young families. So as I'm mentioning, small window here. And you could take, believe me or not, but this is just what it is. This is their prediction. But I can follow that just based off of everything I've been listening to all year, not even all year, from like the end of the summer to like now. It's been very, very, very much so the same. So prediction number one, and let me know how y'all feel about this one. So mortgage rates will dip to low 6% range. And then, of course, one factor improving affordability, as we already discussed. So here, you can really just take a look and see what the mortgage rates will decline to, or at least prediction, right? This is what Redfin, and I'm gonna share with you another picture as well, just so you could get a little bit more of context wise where those mortgage rates may go. So if it goes below 6, just know it's a good opportunity. I know a lot of people right now sitting on the sidelines. I myself sitting on the sidelines waiting for the moment to refi. Not in a rush. Hey, it'll happen when it happens, but I know that I won't refinance just for a nice $200-300 of a difference. Right? I'm looking for the big bang, or else I'll just stay where I'm at. Payment's comfortable for me, and I think that's the big piece in this all. Right? As much as mortgage rates play a factor, you really, I think personally, pay more attention to the payment, right? And you can even understand this and you can get a full scope of what it is going to be, or at least a close range to what it's going to be before closing. You don't have to wait till after closing to then wait a couple of months to then be like, oh, this is my payment. No, they tell you literally. They literally tell you at closing. But if you wait till closing and you get that paper, yeah, in my opinion, you can still walk away, but you've gone so far. You spent so much time and money. It's almost like, why turn around now, right? Just get it done and you'll figure it out then. But yeah, there's a ton of people waiting on the sidelines. So this could even give individuals some ideas of, if your opportunity to refinance is going to even be in the question, right? But again, this is going to be all year. So who knows when that will come in terms of that opportunity to refinance. But here's the picture I was talking to you about. So this gives you an idea of, different ranges, right? So what we just looked at, 6.3%, that was for Redfin. That was their prediction in terms of where they expect mortgage rates to be. But here we can actually see Fannie Mae's, MBA forecast, and Wells Fargo's forecast, right? Some other big institutions that have all that data to make sure to give you the information that you may be looking for. But we have NBA forecast at 6.4. We have Wells Fargo at 6.25. and then Fannie Mae is forecast at 5.9. So everything is gonna sit in the low five, in the low sixes. My apologies. As of course, that's what that prediction said right there. Which, personally, if it goes below that six, I think even more people are going to rush into the housing market, which brings more competition. So, I mean, you let me know, what year are y'all trying to buy in, right? 2025, which, I mean, you could probably buy something if you're paying cash at this point. We're already late into 2025. Or mainly, let's say 2026, 27, or maybe you're just here just to hear me rant or talk about the housing market. I don't know. But let me know in the chat what what year y'all trying to buy in. So here's home buying price. Well, here's prediction number 2. Home buying affordability will improve as wages grow faster than prices. So this, unless if y'all have question on this, I'm not gonna really talk much on it because kind of already alluded to this. So there's no reason to necessarily keep talking about it, unless if y'all have questions on it. But yeah, it's improvement. Well, wages will be improving, which I know a lot of individuals are saying AI is going to take over the job market, which I think is going to hinder, but I don't think it's going to take over. And so seeing that wages will improve, that's a good sign because yeah, with AI right around the corner and the threat that it does hold, it is good to know that it's not going to impact the wages just quite yet. Maybe later, but we'll see. If no questions coming on that, I'll just continue. Prediction number 3. So home sales will rise 3%. So this is good for sellers. This is, I mean, I would say this is good for the all-around industry in itself. It's not just good for one particular group. Just because if there are more sales, that means the market's a little bit more favorable for, at least in this case, it's going to be a little bit more favorable for the buyers just because more sales. This also could mean, all right, there's a little bit more sellers who are coming back to reality and coming to the senses in terms of being more acceptive as far as where we're at in the real estate market and what they want or are willing to accept. But that's really about it. I mean, it's really going to be about the condition in itself and allowing for more sales to occur. But this, in regards to the buyers, what this will do though, this will bring more competition. That's all this really kind of says as well. Right now, the Northeast and I think it's Midwest. Those are the two places that, or two areas, regions that have a lot of tight inventory and a lot of competition going on. So those are the areas that's at least those areas you want to be more a little cognizant and have a little better of a strategy just because you're not really in that buyer's market just quite yet. In fact, you guys can kind of see. I mean, it shares with you here 4.1, meaning these are all in millions, by the way. Um, I'm just looking at this other. I'm just looking at this other one here, and I'm like, how did they? Okay, that makes sense if it's total sales. So this is only talking about existing homes. All right, makes a little bit more sense. I wish I had pulled up new sales. I I might have it actually because I'm looking at this photo here that I was gonna share with you, and I was just looking. I was like, wait, why are those numbers so much different? All right, this is total, so I'm assuming. I don't know the facts on this one, but this should be incorporating new and existing home sales. All right, but you can see, right, just a very small increase in comparison to last year. This was the projection for this year, which I don't know where we're at right now in terms of home sales, total home sales for the entire market. And then, of course, they're anticipating more sales next year, as we've already discussed already. So that's that. Let me see if I have another picture here. No, I don't. All right, we'll go ahead and continue. So, prediction number 4: rents will rise as demand for apartments rises and supply falls. So, not so much about the home buying, but if you're still, going to sit the sidelines and wait for a better opportunity, then just know that rents are probably going to go up. Which I'm not going to really talk about that because, it is what it is. There's not much you can do about the rental market. The rental market, it is what it is, right? They're going to build and they're going to put everybody in apartments, and that's going to be it. I'm checking something out real quick. Gotcha. Well, that's not good. Users not receiving enough. Maintain. Well. Something we have to go take a look at then. My bad, as I got distracted. So I didn't highlight this one just because, all the states is high housing costs will reshape households with more roommates and fewer babies. That's I don't see that as relevant at all. Prediction 6, another one I didn't highlight, right? Because I'm trying to nail down the important pieces so you can understand where this entire market is probably heading. Affordability crisis will unite policymakers. I'm not here to talk policy. I'm not here to talk politics. Y'all can talk politics all y'all want, but I don't follow it enough to really understand it entirely, number one, but also to even comment on it. So let the politicians do what they got to do. I know that a lot of individuals are advocating right now for the real estate industry, specifically housing, and trying to get more supply. Because surprisingly, I don't know if I'm going to talk about it on this stream here, but we're still below that balanced market. So at any point in time, if things really turn up, and when I say turn up, I mean like mortgage rates come down, which I think that will bring a lot of people into the market. If mortgage rates come down, oh man, we're back to where we were in 2020 to 2021, right? Very low inventory, and prices are going to go up. So we shall see. We shall see. So prediction number 7 for the housing market of 2026, which is Redfin's prediction. More Americans will refi and remodel. So refinance and, of course, remodel their home, as we all may know, because mortgage rates are coming down. Here, you can actually take a look at this right here, and you can see how the mortgage rates have been performing. You can see literally it's like a downward trend, which, and I will say something else that I learned not too long ago is the more and more that the feds, they start cutting rates, although it doesn't really have a direct impact to mortgage rates. The more that they cut rates, the more room it gives the mortgage rates to come down. So, and this is only from this year. So you can see, really, starting near that 7%. Jeez. Imagine. Yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do, though. I ain't mad at you. I ain't mad at you. Because I ain't mad at you. You have to do what you have to do. Let's go here now. And the remodeling aspect, it makes sense because, some people are just not going to want to move. It's like, why sell? Or better yet, I'm sure y'all all heard it, right? Why would I sell my 3% mortgage rate for a 6? It's like, well, maybe because, and this is some of the reason I know some people actually sell out of their low mortgage rates for, maybe a 6 or a 5, whatever the case may be. I mean, to be honest, you could still get really low mortgage rates if you just look at new construction. But that's a different conversation for a different day. What was I gonna say? But a lot of reasons why people do move out and leave their low mortgage rate is because life happens, right? Maybe job relocation, bigger family, maybe Relatives need to be close to relatives, or relatives need to be close to each other. I mean, it's things that no one's going to control. So, prediction number 8. Oh, we're gonna talk about the nice stuff, right? So, New York City outskirts, right, Great Lakes regions will be hot, right? Again, Northeast, Midwest. Told you earlier. See, I'm here with it. If y'all just pick up what I'm putting down, you'll be all right. You'll be just fine. At least here in North Carolina, we're gonna have a tougher year because we have a lot of new construction. So new construction is gonna keep everything in terms of prices up, but those I don't know how long they're gonna really stay up for and how much pressure downward they're going to get. But Zoom towns like Nashville and Austin will not be hot, essentially. So here are some of the housing markets that's likely going to heat up. What I just do? There we go. So New York City suburbs. So if you're in Long Island, Hudson Valley, Northern New Jersey, dang, how are they still all no? Well, that makes sense because they don't have new construction going on over there. I don't. Maybe Cleveland does. I'm not sure about Minnesota. Not Minnesota, Minneapolis or Madison, Wisconsin. I know Missouri, St. Louis. I don't know specifically they have new construction going on, but a lot of these areas is not going to have new construction for the most part. It's all going to be existing homes, which if you look a lot of other places, especially these places, right? Nashville, Austin, they have a lot of new construction. Hence why they won't be hot. All right. It's that supply and demand stuff going on. Let's see. Here's some markets that will cool down, right? So Nashville, San Antonio, these are all markets, by the way, that took off in 2020. Each and every single one of them, they took off. So it's the time for everybody to come back to reality, right? Let me know if y'all have any questions on this because that's just about it. I don't think there's anything else that I needed to cover on this, but you are free to look at this article entirely if you want. I know the next website I'm going to show you, which is a realtor.com, and this is their prediction. We're not going to go through that because, quite frankly, I'm not going to sit here and just keep repeating myself, but it's more or less, it's just to show you what markets are going to, because they have a little bit more. I'll just show it. I don't know why I'm trying to explain it. But yeah, there's nothing else here for y'all. You don't have to worry about the rest. That's more about those that are in the real estate industry. So let me go down here. Oh, and I can actually show you price trends. All right, so while we're actually here, here's the forecasts for the price trends. All right, so this is where everybody, and when I say everybody, I'm saying National Association of Realtors, Wells Fargo, I don't know what HPES is, and Fannie Mae, MBA as well. Right, this is all their predictions for where they think home prices will be for next year. And only one person is saying, hey, it's going to be practically flat, a little negative. But everybody else is saying it's going to be up. It's up and it's stuck. So put this part of your strategy because if prices are going to just go up, then that means you're just going to pay more. That's just what it means. And it's really not my it's really not my word, right? It's the people that are on the ground doing this. In fact, here, I'll share this with you as well because while we're on prices, we can also take a look to see how much they anticipate or at least forecast prices to go up in the next couple of years. For everyone waiting, this is for everybody in the back. Listen up. For everyone waiting for a big crash or a big bang, I don't know where you see it. I don't know what you know, but everything I read, everything I hear, see, no one talks about a big crash. Corrections, yeah, I hear that all the time. Like corrections being 5, 10%, in terms of prices correcting itself. Yeah, I mean that we're seeing and hearing it. I don't know why I kept this up for too long. We're seeing and hearing it, but to say a big 20% drop, yeah, that's not quite where I think we're heading. And honestly, you know why we're not gonna head there? Because of this reason. This is exactly why. I'm locked and loaded today. Why? Yeah, I ain't seeing me, man. This thing is all coming together. You know, even I'm sidetracked right now, but even with the like a month or so of not being present, I still got it. That's a practice right there, though. But yes, this right here is the reason why you see the price trends are continuously green. I would say rather than red, which a lot of people want, is because of this, right? So the inventory levels, right? So or at least how many homes are on the market, right? This isn't to a point where it's this isn't high enough essentially. If this is high, then sure, yeah, you'll have prices come down, but otherwise, if this stays relatively low, and we're still below 2019 levels, I think last time I looked at this a little earlier today. Should have, maybe I do. I don't know if I do. What I just do. I think the last time we were at this level, or at least prior to 2020, I think it was 20, the era of 20. I'm not gonna even try guessing it or try to remember it, but there was a time where we had inventory at these levels previously in the past. Give me 1 second here. But this is essentially why prices will not, or at least I shouldn't say will not, because anything could really happen. And really, everything that we're talking about here right now, right? If something, there could be a nail in the coffin where everything just changes because of that, whatever it is that happens. But here are some markets specifically. If you want to know what market you are specifically looking at or in, this is the best time for you to drop it in the chat to let me know. Give me 1 second. Using blue up here. Yeah, interesting. Oh, I see. My bad. Here are some markets right now. Nobody go ahead and drop there. So cool. Then, with that being said, most of you are probably going to be watching on the replay. So I am just going to slowly go through this here, and you can see where exactly your state, city, or whatever it is that you're looking in that maybe you want to go ahead and purchase in. I don't like the way that looks actually. My bad. That look real nasty. There we go. I'm not gonna start from the top. Y'all can y'all can figure it out. I'll just give y'all a little pauses. I know Raleigh ended up on this list, and I was very shocked to see Raleigh on this list, and I was more shocked at the numbers. Right, so I think this here, we're at Columbia. Let me go ahead and highlight this real quick. So sales growth and then price growth. Okay, so more importantly, pay attention to this one here. Right, sales growth doesn't really matter too much, but price growth is going to be more of an impact. So, I mean, Columbia, South Carolina, 7.2% of price growth. So, whatever house you're looking at now, you can anticipate in the next year for it to go up by 7% approximately. There's Durham, North Carolina, and Chapel Hill. And these are two markets that are going to do better than Raleigh. Heads up, I'll give you that right now. We got Greensboro, which, woo, sales is going to be bad, right? But prices are still going to go up. I think there's only one place on here that I saw, and I think we passed it. I don't know if y'all caught it, but I'll make sure to go back to it just to point it out for y'all. But there's only one place here that has a negative 10% on it. So if you're looking in that area, then you might want to really get your ducks in a row because, yeah, negative 10%. Oof, talk about a bargain. I don't know about y'all, but woo, sign me up. Alrighty. And here's Raleigh, right? So negative 3.7. If you guys don't know, I keep bringing up Raleigh, North Carolina, because that's the market that I work in. So it's always good to see this information on a broad scale, but then I always like to bring it locally because, again, what happens nationally doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen locally, which is why I like to point out sometimes, what the local market is doing because it helps me make sure that I can keep all my clients up to date and make sure that I don't employ the wrong strategy in the wrong time frame. So Raleigh's gonna go through it next year, and that's just new construction. Honestly, that's the main reason. As much new construction that's in that area, oh my goodness. Some of y'all may be sick if you saw how much is there. Ooh. And what else we got here? Anything else? All right, so I don't know if y'all caught the Winston-Salem. It's gonna be a 7% growth. Julio. Syracuse is at 12.4 of an increase. Pennsylvania, where is this? Scranton, 10% increase. Rochester, 10% increase. Northeast, hence Northeast. Man. All right, this is what I want to show y'all. The only place with a massive negative 10% on this list entirely. I can say that because I looked at this entirely just to make sure, and this was the only one. There was another one that came in at negative 4.1. That was this next one in line in terms of who's going to have the most negative price growth. So if you're looking in Cape Coral, which, if I'm not mistaken, that's a very, very expensive area. If you're looking at Cape Coral, then you might actually get a better opportunity there. Simply because, again, prices are deemed to come down, for at least predicted to come down. Um, if they don't price it right in terms of the sellers, then you go ahead and get yourself a nice little whopping deal. But let me know if you guys have any questions on anything that we discussed. That's really the predictions. That's the forecasts for 2026. I mean, not sure what else to really share on that because, like I mentioned earlier, it's going to be a real small window. I think that everybody's going to be able to get in. It's important that you prepare yourself now because, I mean, when that time comes, it's going to come and go. That's just going to be what it is. And I would hate for y'all to literally sit here, hear me talk about the market of at least the predictions that were made for 2026 to then not move on it or not be prepared because maybe you just let time pass by. So don't be that individual. And in fact, let's talk about two different scenarios because I know there's still people that are gonna be like, you know what, Ronnie, I don't care. I'm gonna sit this one out, and I'm gonna do it my way. It's like, all right, cool. Knock yourself out. Do what you have to do. But let's paint the scenario out because I really want people to understand and see. So let's just say there's two buyers, and um, I wish somebody would give me a scenario right now just so we could literally live play this. But if nobody wants to go ahead and give me a scenario, that is fine. I'll give it a few to see if anybody wants to go ahead and drop something. But if not, then I'll just make up these two scenarios. Um, let's see. Looks like we're gonna make it up. All right, so let's say person A wants to wait for mortgage rates to drop. Let's say mortgage rates drop to 4. Right, let's just use that for instance, because of course that's mortgage rates are going to play a factor. The less The less the mortgage rates are, the bigger the home that you get, and that's really all it is. Now let's wait. Now let's say person B is like, man, I ain't gonna worry about none of that stuff. I'm just gonna go ahead and purchase the home when it makes sense for me and make sure that all my ducks are in a row and I'm good. Which is essentially, if we compare it to where we're at now, we're in the mid sixes. Let me actually double check where mortgage rates are today. Uh, the 30-year fix is at a 6.3. So, if 30-year fix is at a 6.3, let's just say the person gets commits to that and is like, "Yep, we're gonna move forward." Think about this. Who do you think is gonna have a better scenario? Person A, which is the person that's waiting, or person B, the person that's like, "Hey, I'm just gonna make sure I can go ahead and get my home and get locked in now." You could go ahead and sit on it because I'm going to show you math. I'm not going to even try to tell you who has the better scenario. I'm going to let you see it for yourself. So let me go ahead and share my screen. All right. Hopefully y'all can see this. All right. So let's just use for number's sake 300,000 just to keep the number simple. We're going to do like 3.5%. We're going to act like it's a FHA. No, we just want to do this. Oh, I can't edit that. That stinks. It's like it's changing, but it's not. All right. So we're just going to round up for the sake of that not wanting to cooperate with me right now. So this is the payment for somebody that's trying to buy a $300,000 home with an FHA with the current rate. So yeah, we have this number here. Let me do this. All right. So 2000 was their number. Now let's say the person waited. So the piece that I didn't say, we all saw it. We don't know necessarily where prices are going to go, right? But let's say this year particularly that the person A is like, "Hey, I'm waiting because I want to see my mortgage rate be a little bit lower." The caveat to that is generally when you wait like that, you deal with higher prices. All right? And I'll be subtle here because we didn't really see any crazy of a scenario. So, like I said, I'll be subtle here, right? I only went up by, well, not that much. Only went up by 30, only 25 grand, right? And we want to do 4% there. We said 4%. Boom. All right. This is if that home is, of course, 325,000. So let's just say from the time that the person B purchased to when person A purchased, they won in that scenario, and that's just because the home went up by 25,000. Now let's say if it went up by 3,000, well, it went up by 50,000, which 1% of 1% of 300,000 will be. Anyway, I can't do my. It should be. Yeah, that's only three, so it probably won't even do these crazy jumps. So in this case, the person that waited won. But let's say I would say they won. However, they only won when the prices were really close to 300,000. So the closer it was to that 300,000 mark, that's when that person won. Whereas the further it got, obviously, when you saw it got to the 350, their payment only was like $100 of a difference. Right. The piece that I don't think I mentioned, and I don't think a lot of people think about when they say, "Hey, I'm just gonna sit the sideline," is person B that purchased immediately. They were building equity, right? They had their fixed payments. They're making payments on their mortgage. They're not going to really do a dent. In fact, if you are trying to purchase a home, at least try to stay there within 7 years. 7 years minimum. If you're trying to move any time before that, just continue to rent. It generally doesn't make sense to go ahead and purchase a home if you're trying to move within 7 years. Honestly, I say 5 to 7, but just to kind of play it safe here, just because, who knows what can happen in 5 years. It just doesn't make sense. The math, you'll end up having to bring money to the table just to literally move on from that scenario. So in this case, as long as the home prices stayed below 350 and it didn't really do a jump, person A won in this scenario. But of course, if, in my personal opinion, right, if those prices are closer to 350 or even higher, then yeah, you kind of lost that scenario. Yeah, I'll show you all once more because I just saw that it was a completely different number, right? So this is like $100 of a difference in comparison to a person that's purchasing right away and someone that's waiting. So I hope that kind of like allows you to really see the the power of mortgage rates, but at the same time, what the home prices actually does to the payments in itself. Because literally, person B would have had a $2,100 payment depending when they bought, and if mortgage rates really drop to, this is the piece I didn't even talk about. I just remember it. If mortgage rates really drop, that person has the ability to refinance too. And mind you, they're refinancing with the current home loan that they have. So, ooh, their payment is going to be lower. And oh man, that's just a whole nother ball game there. But that's what not waiting enables you to do, right? You lock in your payment now. If mortgage rates come down, you open up the doors for you to go ahead and refinance to lower your mortgage payment, and you don't necessarily have to continuously compete. And I think that's the beautiful part about it all. Because once you get out there and you start having to compete and you get into multiple bid situations, that's when I think you're really gonna put yourself in a scenario where you overpay. It happened all 2020. Let me know if y'all have any questions or you want to challenge me on this. I'd love to go back and forth. Because I just see more. I just see it makes more sense when no one's buying rather than when everybody's buying. That's just kind of the logic that I see because you can get more opportunity, right? Right now, we know that what's it called? We know new construction builders, right? So the builders out there who are building homes, of course, they're offering incentives. But if everybody is buying a home, they're not going to offer them. I know someone who just got a home. Literally, I think all he had to do is take care of his down payment. Everything else taken care of. So 4% of whatever the home price is, boom, taken care of. Of course, you'll probably have some miscellaneous fees that come into that, but this is real life. This is what's happening. Don't get left behind now. Yeah, I don't want y'all, like I said earlier, I don't want y'all to look back and see 2027, be in 2027. It's like, all right, look back like, wow, I just wasted all that time just sitting on my hands, listening to content, consuming content about the housing market, but didn't really do anything. So don't do that. In fact, if you really don't want to do that, and or you don't want to just sit the silence on this one, you just want to have a conversation. Just the link is in the description. Go ahead and click it, fill it out. It's a buyer intake form. Even if you're not ready, right? Just have that conversation. See where you're at. That's one of those best conversations that you can have because then you'll position yourself to be ready when that time does arrive. And of course, I know I cover North Carolina, or at least yeah, I work in North Carolina, so I'm more versed on that market. And now, if you want to get connected to somebody that's outside of North Carolina, I got connections all throughout the country. Honestly, that I can connect you to, so we can go ahead and do that for you. But you guys are silent today. If you're just tapping in now, I really hope that you watched previously, but just know that 2026 housing market, just to kind of sum it up, it's really going to start improving just because prices, not prices, but wages, so your income are going to start going up. Prices are going to kind of be steady, or if anything, flat. Certain areas are going to be different, of course. Look into your area specifically. If you want to get a little bit more information, drop it in the comments or in the chat about your area, and then we can go ahead and do a deep dive on that. But yeah, so we know that mortgage rates are going to come down, incomes are going to go up, which is going to help affordability, which is also going to help with the prices of the home, right? Because price growth isn't at least geared right now to go crazy high or crazy fast high. So that's really what 26 is gearing up for, and that's why I think there's a small window because it won't be like that for the whole duration of real estate. It will Real estate will improve for the better and for the worse. All right, it's ebbs and flows of it all. I am curious though, for those of you who are tapped in now, watching live or even on the replay, what's the biggest thing holding you back from buying right now? Generally, what I hear, it's down payment, credit score, it's of course mortgage rates. Sometimes it's the price of the home. So it's like nobody wants to buy at the top, which I totally understand it. Right? Not knowing where you're going to be long term, right? These are some of the things that I hear individuals kind of speak on in terms of what's holding them back. But I'm curious for anybody that's tapped in right now, what is it that's holding you back? What's holding you back? Holding you back, you're back, telling me I need you, my. Uh, cool. If nothing, if nothing comes in, then I will just answer some quick questions that I know that at least I genuinely get. Right. At least as I wrap up here, I'll answer some questions that I think you guys may all have as well. Let me see if I have any other. Yeah, no, we're good. So, is it crazy to buy with 3% down? So, that is most likely going to be conventional, or not so much is going to be FHA because FHA is 3.5 down. So, if you want to get real technical, are you crazy? No, people do it all the time. I think it's better if you do 3% down and you can qualify for the conventional, just because after a certain time, you'll have that PMI drop, whereas FHAs, that is going to be there for the entire duration of the loan, which is, of course, going to make your payment a little bit higher on the FHA rather than conventional. However, if you want to actually get rid of the PMI, which they call it something different when it comes to FHAs, I forgot what exactly they call it. I want to say I'm not going to even try to guess. I don't think it's private mortgage insurance. It's something else. But if you want to get rid of it, I actually learned not too long ago, maybe a couple months or so ago, it was brought to my attention that if you do 10% down on an FHA loan, which of course is still going to be a hefty down payment for some, that's when your PMI would drop after year like 11 or something of that nature. So it's pretty cool, right? And why somebody would do that is because maybe they can't qualify for conventional because of maybe their credit, right? So that's why you go towards FHA. FHA is generally for those individuals who have more of a are hurting with credit wise, and conventional is like generally people who have really great credit. Should you wait for rates to drop? You do what you please. We went through the scenario, right? And there's pros and cons to both. But is there a perfect answer? No, it's going to be based on your scenario. If you can wait, then wait. But if you can't, you have life happening and you need to make a move, just make the move, right? So there isn't no best case scenario. I mean, we saw the forecasts, we saw prices, we saw mortgage rates are going to continuously come down. I mean, are they going to go down to 3, 4%? The predictions we saw, let's all say low sixes. So if you're waiting for a 4% or lower mortgage rate, or even fives, low fives, I don't know how long you'll be waiting because I mean everything we saw was low sixes. Some you can do what you want. I mean, yeah, if you really want to wait for rates to drop to a point where home prices are just really high now, then maybe that works best for you. I know I wouldn't sign up for that. Again, when people are not purchasing, that's when I purchase. Because then I could get the deals like I could get my closing costs covered. I can maybe even bring down the price of the home depending on how motivated that seller is. Down payment, you're not going to really ever get rid of. You're always going to have to bring that to the table. So the best things that you can do now is get paid. Some of your closing costs getting paid for. And in a booming market, when real estate's on fire, everybody's buying, you're not getting those things. What, and this is a great question I just see here. What if there's a crash? This is a really great question. And I think anybody that has this idea of a crash, it's fair to have it because I mean, maybe you experienced 2008 or your parents experienced 2008 and it took a toll on you. So you don't necessarily want to have that same effect. So, two things I will say. First, for 2008 to happen again, which the banking guidelines have improved tremendously, so it'd be really tough for that to even happen in the first place. But also, something really bad has to happen in the market, or at least in the world, not even in the market. So, like, something really bad has to happen. So, in this case, if you are concerned about what if there's a crash, the only and the best thing that you could probably, not that you could probably do for yourself, that you can do for yourself, is when you're purchasing in certain areas, you don't overpay. So make sure you're either doing the comparables, like a comparable market analysis, looking at the price analysis, specifically looking at what home A in that neighborhood sold for, comparison to B, comparison to the property you're trying to purchase. Right. That is by far one of the best things that you can do. Stay below between the comparisons. All right. If you're trying to purchase a home and you're concerned about a crash, your best bet is to stay below those comparables. All right. So whatever other homes sold in that area within, if you can, within the past 6 months to a year, then you'll have a good opportunity to know that if there is a crash, at least you'll be protected because there's homes that are worth more than yours. Or at least, what somebody is willing to pay for is a little bit more than yours. So that will protect you and at least not hinder you to the point where you're not underwater on your mortgage in a sense where, wow, that's laggy, laggy, laggy. That's nasty work. My bad. But yeah, so the best thing you can do is run comparables to make sure that you're not paying more than what previous home or what previous buyers bought their home for, if that makes sense. Let me know if you have any questions on that because that's a good question and it's a valid point, I think, to be concerned on. It's like shoot, who wants to be underwater on their mortgage? To be stuck in a home. I'm pretty sure nobody does. So, and that's essentially what's gonna happen, right? If you're underwater on your mortgage, you're gonna be stuck essentially just because you're gonna have to bring money to the table. And we know real estate values don't go up tremendously, really quickly in a short period of time. So if you like, hey, you're underwater on your mortgage and you're trying to go ahead and go about your business, you try and sell and move on in a year or two, it does, did real estate have enough time to recoup that? Probably not. Probably not. But this is why I say to everyone, if you're trying to purchase a home and you're going to plan on moving within, again, less than 5 years, if you just don't even purchase, I'll be the one to tell you, don't even bother. Just continue to rent. until you can figure out where you are trying to be for at least 7 years, minimum 7 years. If you really have to do 5, then go ahead and do 5. But you're really running a very, very you're walking a thin line there. And if that thing tips over, that's it. You going with it. But I like to tell individuals, hey, at least 7 years in a home. That way, you're giving yourself time to make payments on that home to go ahead and force appreciation. You've given the market some time to go ahead and, in terms of what other the housing market to price growth wise, to go ahead and raise in value on that aspect. But if you do it before that, then I don't know, man. You on your own. But there's no other questions. I only wanted to really go on, really kind of show my face again after such a long absence. I actually didn't talk about it, so if you stay to this point, this is exactly what happened. So it was one day. I don't know why I decided to do that. I probably should have took a professional to begin with. I was having battery issues with my computer, and so I was just like, all right, let me just. It can't be that difficult to change the battery. Yeah, well, I changed the battery, all right, and then I went to go turn my computer back on, and unfortunately, that thing will not turn back on. I was like, bro, I did all the research I possibly could have did. It was a sad moment. It was literally a sad moment that nobody, like, that's how I felt. So it was one of those days where I was just like, dang, I had to put everything on pause, try to get a repair. Still, to this day, it's still not repaired. Still in the professional's hands, trying to get prepared, trying to get repaired. So that's what happened. But I'm here. I'm back. I may do a nice special since I've missed so many streams. I may actually come back for the entire month of December. We'll see how I'm feeling. If y'all don't show up, then I won't show up. And I would just go back to regular routine schedule. But with all that being said, hey, I hope you guys got a good understanding of what's coming in the 2026 housing market. And so now you can really prepare yourselves. Of course, if you want to get in touch with me, just click the link in the description next to it should be agent referral, something of that nature. Complete the buyer intake form. That way I can get in touch with you and we can really figure out where you're at and how is it that we can get you to becoming a homeowner. Because there'll be no other reason why you're on the stream listening to me ramble if you're not trying to become a homeowner at some point. So, with all that being said, hope you guys understood. If you have any questions, reach out, tap in. Let's get you to where you need to be in a home, especially before Wall Street really buys them all, or at least not buy them all, but makes it so expensive to the point where it makes it difficult for someone like yourself to go ahead and purchase one. But with all that being said, y'all have a blessed rest of y'all night and a great week. Peace out.